Why should you concentrate on revenue goals? And how do you set them in the first place? Hey, boutique owner and other e-commerce friends. Ask any business owner or entrepreneur about goals, and you'll soon see how vital they are to all businesses. But how do you pick your goals? Why should you concentrate on revenue goals? And how do you set them in the first place? Whether you're setting up your Shopify site for the first time or you're already in business, we want you to succeed. Revenue goals are one way to define what that success will look like. Having a clear vision of what that success will look like will make it easier for you to accomplish it and measure it along the way. So let's take a look at what revenue goals are and how to set them. But real quick, while you're here, don't forget to subscribe to my channel too, so you never miss a thing. Okay, so let's get into the down low on revenue goals. So first of all, a revenue goal is just a target for the strategy and performance of a business that improves your gross or net profit, right? So what does that really mean? It's really just the sales goal that you're setting for your business. And the reason that you need this in place is so that you can continue to grow towards whatever that goal is, right? And of course, once you reach it, set a new goal. But it's so that everything that you do in your business, every social media post, every email that you send, every buying decision that you make is all part of the strategy towards reaching that goal. So let me get a little bit more granular because I know that is still a little bit abstract and it just seems like common sense, right? But some of this stuff is not common sense. And so many business owners just don't even have goals set up. So what are our golden rules of goal setting? So first of all, set your goals regularly, at least annually, but I definitely would recommend quarterly and monthly as well. And actually, especially if you're struggling, you really should dive even deeper to weekly and daily goals. It can make a really big difference to really break it down into those bite-sized pieces, because then it no longer becomes an option for you to say, oh, well, it's fine. We can do that tomorrow. We can do that next week. We can catch back up, because days can turn into weeks. And then all of a sudden you're not any closer to that goal that you set up. And if you look at it on a daily basis, it's really clear and obvious that you really need to roll your sleeves up in order to hit that goal. So again, if you're struggling, so for example, because we help clients at just all levels, and we do see some that are struggling to say even bring in $1,000 a month. You got to get set on those daily goals and really roll up your sleeves each day to reach them. But on that end, I also know of like very, very, very high generating businesses, into the multi-millions or billions that actually do also check on their goals versus what they're actually bringing in on a daily basis. And not only daily, but multiple times a day. Because really, it's not just for daily goal setting and checking and, working towards is not only for those that are struggling. It's really for anybody that wants to grow dramatically, especially compared to where they are right now. So keep that in mind. And as far as your goals, make sure you make them SMART goals. I don't know if you've ever heard of this before. I feel like some of us might have learned this in like high school, but it's also been a long time. So, and also I think this is really easily seen as something that we've learned back in the day that was never going to apply to us in the future, but it really does. So in this sense, for your business, what does this mean? It means make sure that your goals are specific. I want to increase my revenue, not a good, clear enough goal. I want to become a, multi-million-dollar boutique owner, not a good goal. It's just not specific enough, as well as these other things that we'll get into. So make sure that it's very specific. So for example, I want to grow my revenue from 5,000 to 10,000 monthly. Okay. So, and that's along the lines with making sure that it's measurable. Make sure that's actually something that you can somehow track or calculate or quantify, right? Just goals are not a place to leave anything vague whatsoever. Okay, make sure that it's achievable. Now, this doesn't mean that this should be like easily achieved, and it doesn't mean that it should be like in your comfort zone. It should be a stretch, but it should not be out of the realm of possibility. So if you're struggling to bring in $1,000 a month, setting $1 million sales revenue goal for the year is probably not the best idea. It doesn't mean that you cannot get there. And I mean, to be honest, depending on where you're at with the year, I mean, we're already, late here in August, but you could go from struggling to bring in $1,000 to $1 million by the end of the year. There are businesses that have grown that quickly, for sure. But you need to start with something that's more achievable, because otherwise you're never going to get there. You know what I mean? Like, start with, okay, well, then what can you bring in this week? And then what can you bring in this month? And then go from there and increase that goal as you're able to. Make sure it's relevant to the success of your business, to your bottom line. So for example, if you're like, well, I want to bring in children's clothing, why? Is that really going to help you, strategically meet your goal? Make sure that it makes sense for your business. Period. And then make sure it's time bound. So don't just say, I want to increase my revenue from $5,000 to $10,000, monthly. Say that I want to do this by Q2. So like, you have the rest of this quarter to get your ducks in a row and start hitting those numbers. Like, give yourself specific dates so that you can just really, like I said, just roll up your sleeves and really get to work and make it happen. Okay, so communicate your goals with your team. Let it inspire and motivate them, Now, this could mean different things for different businesses. Some businesses are more transparent with their team. Obviously, depends on like how big of a company you are, just a number of factors. But some businesses really do actually share their actual numbers with their team, as well as their actual goals, like just straight up in terms of revenue. If you're not comfortable doing that, it could be shared as a sort of percentage, like, hey, we're 75% towards our monthly goal, or that sort of thing. So think about what feels right for you and how you can share that with your team, and how you can celebrate with your team when you do, when you're hitting successes, and then how you can motivate your team to push harder or to push smarter with you when maybe you're not meeting them. And then, of course, use the right tools and metrics to measure your performance. So you can use Google Analytics. You can check out, like if you're on Shopify, most of you are if you're watching this, your finance reports. Definitely have a spreadsheet. We like to use monday.com here at Hot Mess to track all sorts of things. We systemize everything we do. And, monitoring our goals and revenue and progress towards goals is all part of that as well. So make sure that you have, because what you want to do too, like, I think a lot of people can get stuck in like, well, what should my revenue goal be? Should it be 10% over last year? If that's what you want it to be, it could be more, it could be less. It's really up to you and where you're at. Like, I do always recommend that you keep growing. So I never would recommend that a business owner just stays stagnant where they are, because business just doesn't work like that. Things are going to happen. There's going to be ebbs and flows. There's going to be slow times and busier times. So you should always be aiming to grow, no matter what, even if it's just a small amount, even if slow and steady is totally fine for you. But it's also okay to shoot for more than that. So don't get stuck on a particular percentage that you should be aiming for to increase, because how quickly I want to grow my business may not have anything, it may not even be remotely close to how quickly you want to grow your business. So just pay attention to what you are wanting and what's in the realm of possibility, and keep growing from there. And that's part of, reviewing your goals regularly. Like, is this still fitting in with what makes sense for you? Don't just set goals and then for the rest of the year and think like, okay, this is it, and I'm not going to budge. check in with yourself at least quarterly on them and see, does this still make sense? Should I adjust this one way or another? And yeah, maybe sometimes it means lowering your goals. If you're like, we're just not going to hit this at this point, let's set this to something that is more achievable so that we have something relevant to work towards. So some other common pitfalls to avoid in goal setting. Beware of the spreadsheet. Now, have the spreadsheet in place, right? But also, it's kind of like what I was just saying. Like in some cases, as you're reviewing, you may need to back down from some of the goals. That's going to happen because it's just not a straight line. You know what I mean? Like you may be working on all these fancy strategies and sometimes things will happen quicker than you could have imagined. Sometimes things take way longer than you ever could have anticipated. And so you really need to set them so that you can have, something in place to keep you in line and keep you motivated and keep you on track. But you also need to have that flexibility that, like say that you have a specific goal to keep, to increase steadily and quickly over a year, right? Well, maybe it's going to take a handful of months for all of the really powerful efforts that you're putting into your business to actually take into effect. And then all of a sudden you're going to see a really big surge of growth. You don't know how that's going to happen. So don't get so caught up in the details that you give up on yourself. You know what I mean? That's not the point of goals at all. And then just keep an eye on your growth gap. So it's the difference between where you are now and where you want to be, and let it motivate you instead of discourage you. So yeah, those are really, really important things to keep in mind here with goals. Goals are meant to help you on your business owner's journey, not the other way around. And like I mentioned before, as far as tracking your revenue goals, you can totally use Google Analytics, but really your sales figures, which you can easily see in Shopify, is perfect in terms of keeping your spreadsheets updated, checking on your goals regularly, and just monitoring your progress. So anyway, bottom line, set goals. Don't be stuck to any one right or wrong or way to grow, or don't be stuck to any certain percentage of like, oh, I need to grow this much or I need to grow this little. Like, set goals, just set smart goals, period, and you'll be fine from there. So that's what I've got for you today about setting revenue goals. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from this, it's keep your revenue goals smart. And remember, when you reach your goals, celebrate them, girl, and tag us so we can celebrate with you. If you've got a top takeaway, I'd love you to share that with me in the comments below. And let me know if you have any questions about Shopify or e-commerce in general. I'd love to help. And if you enjoyed this content and want to hear more from me, hit subscribe and hit the bell for notifications to get notified when I release a new video. That's all for now, friends. I'll see you next time here on the Hot Mess Consulting channel. Need more? Check out the blog at hotmessblog.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel too. Cheers!